Hi there, Chris from TotallyEV, and here we're joined with Jamie Chadwick. She's a professional racing driver. Now, Jamie, thank you so much for taking time on the interview. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
So, Jamie, for those who might not be aware of the incredible lady that you are, do let us know a little bit more about yourself.
So I'm obviously a racing driver. My background is predominantly in circuit racing. So I grew up started in go-karts, progressed through Jetta Juniors into a bit of sports cars, and then more notably some single-seater stuff in the last few years, and obviously W Series last year. So it's a unique sort of decision to go over to something like Extreme E, but yeah, really looking forward to the challenge and can't wait for this year.
Amazing. And what got you into racing in the first place? You said circuit racing. Is it you were watching circuit racing and you thought to get into it, or was it someone who actually inspired you to get into it?
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of growing up. I grew up a little bit in the Isle of Man, so for sure that has definitely played a little bit of a part in where the petrol head in me came from. But it was actually my older brother that sort of started the motorsports of trend in the family. He went go-karting when he was about 12 or 13 years old, which is relatively late for most young drivers these days. And a couple of years later, I'm 2 years younger than him. I decided that that's something I wanted to give a go. Tried it, fell in love with it, and yeah, kind of escalated from there at quite a dramatic rate, really.
You can see your kind of progression. I think I might not be I could be mistaken, but from what I researched, it looked like you were gonna go towards hockey, and then you just went towards racing. It's a complete radical type of change, as you kind of explained.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of came from a bit of a sporting background. Everything I did, I wanted to be in sport. So at a really young age, I found trying to specialize in one sport really difficult. I always wanted to do, more than one sport. And I loved sort of having that flexibility when I was younger. And yeah, it wasn't until, I was about 14 when I was doing the Janetta Junior scholarship that that sort of sudden life decision, or the first ever life decision I've probably had to make, came into play, where I had to decide whether I was going to, go to these hockey trials or, go to the Janetta Junior scholarship. And in that moment, I picked motorsport, and yeah, I can't say I regret that decision now looking back.
That's the best. It's kind of the best decision for a lot of people for seeing you on the racetrack, which is incredible. So, speaking about the racetrack, let's talk about the W Series briefly. Like you obviously won the inaugural season in 2019. Seems like an age ago. We're in 2021 now. It's crazy how time flies. But how did it feel winning the W Series for the first time ever?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was an amazing thing for me to have in its first year. I think W Series, all of us that probably did it in 2019, I don't think any of us could have anticipated it to have got the reaction that it got. It was, yeah, far beyond what I'd expected or anticipated from the series. And yeah, I think obviously to be the first champion, came with sort of its added bonus, and it was an incredible thing. I mean, it's given me a huge leg up in my career. It's a super exciting time to now, be a part of the series. And I think, looking forward to sort of returning this year and trying to retain my title.
Do you think it's going to be a hard fight getting into it in this year versus how it was in 2019?
Yeah, I mean, it was a hard fight in 2019 as
Yeah.
well, but yeah, for sure it's going to be a hard fight this year. I think everyone's equally as hungry for it, and everyone's working hard. I think I'm definitely up my work ethic and my workload much more to try and sort of, not become complacent and make sure that I can, return as champion. But I mean, from my perspective, I think it's possible to achieve what we achieved in 2019 again.
Amazing. We'll look forward to watching that. Now, speaking about the W Series, the importance of it is obviously all female drivers. Do you feel that's quite important in motorsport, generally speaking? Obviously, you took part in it, you won it, but do you feel that it's an important factor in the grander scheme in terms of motorsport?
I think in the grand scheme, it's about perception, and it's about making sure that, women are perceived as being, capable racing drivers. And I think W Series offers a platform to do that. So in that sense, I think it's providing great opportunity for a lot of women in motorsport that, wouldn't necessarily be out racing without W Series. So definitely, and I would say I'm a good case study for someone that it's provided a huge opportunity for. And I think that's what we should be looking for. For the sport, we should be looking to give more girls these kind of leg ups and try and get more and more girls feed through to the top, because without that, the reality is we won't see any women competing at the top level of motorsport.
Absolutely. And speaking about top level of motorsport, one of them is Formula One, and of course you've had your involvement in Formula One. Do you see that potential shift happening within companies themselves? I'm not obviously you probably can't speak for companies themselves, but I mean for yourself, if you had the chance, I'm sure you would take it with two arms almost if you're driving the Formula One seats on a Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Formula One's very much still the dream and the goal. I was incredibly fortunate to receive that sort of place in the Williams development program a couple of years ago, and so to be a part of a team and to have that kind of role within a Formula One team is the first step to that, which has been an amazing experience for me. But yeah, ultimately, I think this thing I feel very strongly about is making sure that if it is me or whichever female gets to Formula One eventually, that they're there on merit. It isn't just some sort of shift in sort of perception or shift in thinking that people feel the need to place a female there and a token gesture. I think it needs to be on merit, on credibility, and hopefully we can see that, and there's enough talent coming through to make that possible.
Absolutely, that's a great point. And speaking about females in motorsport, you're part of Women in Motorsport and like promoting women in motorsport. What do you go ahead doing other than being an amazing racing driver? Do you do anything outside of actual racing, if that makes sense, in order to try and promote people to come in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm part of quite a few initiatives that are in place to try and promote, women in motorsport, whether that's as a driver or in any other sort of avenue. Motorsport, I think, is an incredibly diverse, industry, and we can have so many different roles for women within the sport. So, yeah, a lot of the stuff I do is around, activity to promote awareness and make sure that, it is perceived as a sport that women can get immersed in, whatever the kind of role. And I think part of that is with the FIA, the Women in Motorsport Commission, Dare to Be Different, Girls on Track, and it's exciting to be part of a community almost with other like-minded women in the sport to help build this community to get more and more women involved.
Absolutely, and I think it's important that some people who might not like racing, there's obviously the engineering side of stuff as well. It's a massive whole infrastructure that goes behind the sole racing driver, or multiple racing drivers within a race series, right? So yeah, it's absolutely important. Now, speaking of which, should we talk a little bit about Extreme E? I think you're wearing the top right now. It's all on brand. It's amazing. Tell us a little bit about that. It's a completely different transition as to, well, circuit racing, as you mentioned. Is it going to be a challenge for you? Is it going to be something quite different?
It's completely different. It's going to be a massive challenge, but honestly, one that I cannot wait for. It's, yeah, I mean, Extreme E kind of came at me as a bit of a surprise. I really didn't think I'd be the right person for the role. I think it doesn't take a motorsport expert to work out that, the racing that I've done in the past, a lot of the circuit racing is very, very different to this sort of off-road, electric SUV racing. So, yeah, definitely I feel like it's going to be a completely different challenge, but I think almost a really positive thing in that sense, because I can go into it with a whole fresh learning plate and sort of take in as much information as possible. Obviously, utilizing the experience that I have in the racing that I've done, but yeah, trying to learn as much as possible. And my teammate's just been announced now in Stefan Sarazan, and he can really help coach me and help bring us both on, and I'm confident we can have a really strong year.
And do you feel that going also to an all-electric powertrain might be a little bit weird or different? Obviously, I'm not sure if I've seen pictures of you with the car, which is behind me as well. But does that feel a little bit different from the single-seater sort of experience?
Yeah, I mean, I'd actually done a bit of testing in Formula E, so I have experience in electric racing cars. But yeah, this is very, very different. I think feeling the electric power off-road, for sure, adds a whole new dimension. And I think the main difference is the sort of parameters that we have to, change the way in which we utilize the battery and how we utilize that power is very different to, how we would do that in a normal combustion engine. So understanding that from an engineering perspective is something I'm working really hard on. And yeah, I think the car is incredible to drive. It being electric really doesn't make a difference to, how much fun it is to drive, but definitely in terms of making it go as quick as possible, there's a few tricks in there.
I think I remember seeing when the first lockdown happened in the UK, you were doing some sim racing and you had a whole sim racing setup. Have you been trying to do that with Extreme E with I don't know, have they tried to set you up in terms of that? Given Veloce's experience in esports as well, is it something they've tried to try and get you up to speed with?
Yeah, I mean, Veloce obviously, unfortunately in lockdown, I can spend a bit less time there, but they've got an incredible setup now with obviously all the esports stuff that they've got going on. So that's, a facility that I really, really lean on and utilized for, all parts of my racing. It's an incredibly important part. The Extreme E stuff's a little bit more difficult to simulate. We're yet to have, anything that's probably like the Extreme E car on any simulator. But for me, it's about being as adaptable as possible, and the more stuff I can drive and the more stuff I can get used to driving, the easier that's going to become. So, whether that's on a simulator, doing sports car stuff, single seaters, everything I do, I see as valuable at this point.
And so I will have to say then, if you had to choose a car that you've raced in, so obviously you don't have to choose the Extreme E one, so you can be kind of off brand if that makes sense. Which one would you choose? Would it be your W Series winning single seater car, or will it be something else?
The Extreme E car, I think.
Really?
I don't know if it's, yeah, I don't know if it's because the fact that, I've done, obviously my whole career has been based around stuff like the W Series car and, circuit racing cars, that this, because it's so different and unique, that I've just really gravitated towards it. But honestly, I don't think I've got out of that car without a big smile on my face yet. So, yeah, I'm enjoying every minute of driving it.
Are you looking forward to doing those? I think there's the longest jump or the highest jump that you get the extra boost on. I just feel that's like a. I think I was speaking to one of the other drivers, and they said it's kind of like Mario Kart. It's like you have to try and get the longest jump to try and get the most amount of boost to say available. I think that's going to be quite weird because you're obviously planted usually on the ground, and this is completely the opposite, right?
Complete opposite. Yeah, no, it's all been a massive learning experience for me. I did my first jump at the first test that we did, and yeah, even just stuff like that, so different but so cool and incredible to learn. And the skills that I learn are so transferable to everything that I do. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's something I'm really enjoying getting my teeth into, and I think the main thing is just learning and really focusing and yeah, doing the best job I can, and I'm really confident that we can have a really strong year.
Well, Jamie, that concludes the interview. Really, you've been an absolute star, and really love talking to you. And yeah, really appreciate your time, as I said before. But furthermore, really look forward to seeing you hitting those long jumps. Really,
Yeah, me too.
brilliant. Well, thank you
Cheers.
very much.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye bye.